Hi, my name is Austin Riley.
And I'm Morgan Green, and you are listening to CJSW 90.9 FM as a Airwaves.
This program is dedicated
to the education and exploration of disabled life,
giving voice to the life and experience of people with disabilities.
We cover a wide array of issues and disabilities.
We are people who discuss issues we are passionate about
and topics we are interested in.
We show how disability is in the mind of the beholder.
Today, we are talking to Zachary Weeks,
who is a disability advocate, accessibility consultant based in Edmonton, Alberta.
Zachary has been a spokesperson on disability issues since he was young.
He has consulted on a variety of building developments, including the Glenrose's build-back Auditorium, the Walterdale Feeder, and Rogers Place.
Welcome to the show. Zachary, tell us about herself and the work that you do.
Great question. So my name is Zachary Weeks, and I am a disability advocate here in Alberta, specifically in Edmonton. But I also am a accessibility consultant that consults on making buildings and programs and services and websites accessible as well. So I advocate for people with disabilities, and I also advocate for accessibility.
Awesome.
What inspired you to get into consulting and advocacy work?
It wasn't just myself that was going through these challenges as someone with a disability, that there's thousands of other Albertans going through similar things. You know, I was blessed to be able to communicate fairly well, so even though I'm in a wheelchair, I use my voice to make change. It's what drives me to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights as everyone else, whether you have a disability or not.
Can you tell us more about your advocacy work and your role on the Accessibility Advisory Committee?
Advocacy work is very rewarding, but it can also be very tiring because you're having to tell the same story over and over until someone understands. I think that's where my role on the Accessibility Advisory Committee has been very helpful, in that it provides me an opportunity to, through the committee, to advise Edmonton City Council on issues related to accessibility and barriers in our city, based off of what we're hearing in the community from residents. So that could be anything from recreation centers not being accessible, it could be transportation challenges with buses, and it could be housing. But it really is diverse in terms of what the role involves when you're on the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Wow.
Can you share with us an example of your work regarding accessibility expertise?
Actually, the work that I did with the Accessibility Advisory Committee to when the Edmonton Oilers were designing their new arena, Rogers Place, and through that committee we were able to address a number of different issues that were brought up from the previous arena, Rexall Place, and improve things for people attending that venue, whether it's for a concert or for a hockey game. So we consulted on layout to the building, seating options, customer service, so that people have a better understanding of how to help guests with disabilities. We looked at the digital signage on the Jumbotron, making sure that there's captions on some of the advertising. Washrooms was a very important one because everybody has to use a washroom, right? So we need to make sure that people are able to do that in a way that's easy and dignified for them. So that is probably the project, one of the projects I'm most proud of, because I'm also an Edmonton Oilers fan. So it was like playing for the team without playing for the team.
Wow.
I'm against your team. I'm actually a Flames fan, so we're Battle of Alberta.
Oh, Battle of Alberta, okay.
Can you tell us more about the training and workshop that you do?
That is one of the ways that I do what's called micro advocacy, and that's through the workshops as well as on social media. So, the workshops really depend, they change depending on what people need, right? So one workshop might focus on, how to use your voice to make sure that you get what you need as a person with a disability. Another one could be around accessible housing and what sort of features you need in your house to live comfortably when you have a disability. Some of them may be around customer service, like I said before, training staff at different facilities or businesses how to interact appropriately with people with disabilities. So it really changes depending on what my client needs. I'm very open in terms of the different kind of workshops that I offer, and really build them around what is needed in the community.
That's right. I love making friends with them. I love that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there efforts that have been a keynote speaker at that stand out to you?
Keynote presentations, those are things that really make me nervous because I want to make sure that I'm delivering information, sharing information that is helpful, and it's public speaking, right? So you're in front of a big room of strangers, so it's a little bit nerve-wracking. But 2 keynote speeches that I've done was actually my first ever speech, and that was at the Jubilee Auditorium here in Edmonton. And it was just so cool because I know the history, right, with the Jubilee Auditorium and how many different celebrities and rock stars have been on that stage. So to be on the same stage as them and share something that I'm passionate about with respect to disability and living with the disability and helping, train their staff. It was a keynote speech for their staff on how to improve things at the Jubilee Auditorium. It was really special. The second one was recently at the Symposium for Adapted Physical Exercise. That was through the Stedworth Center, where I was able to speak and present on how to advocate, and that was something I was really nervous about because I never really sat down and thought about how I advocated, and so to really go through my process of what works, what doesn't, that was something that was special to me. And then at the same time, it was very nerve wracking because the one person that I really look up to was there, and he's like the godfather of disability, right? Like, I was nervous that he was there, and it was intimidating, but it all went off very well, and so yeah, that really stuck with me to speak and have a legend in the room when it comes to disability issues.
Can you share a story from your work where accessible changes made a difference in someone's life?
The work I did with Rogers Place, right? Because there's thousands of people going to that building every day, and that would be one example, and super proud of that.
What challenges have you faced in regards to your consulting or advocacy work?
The barriers that are out there related to attitudes, not the actual accessibility, codes like the building code or the fire code, but it's actually, attitudinal barriers that are the hardest to overcome. Once I can teach people, how to change their mindset about accessibility and inclusion of people with disabilities, then things get a lot easier. So I think, breaking down those stereotypes, those stigmas that are out there around people with disabilities, and how we're just like everyone else. We just have to, work in a different way, depending on our needs, which is no different from, people that don't have a disability. And the other thing that I highlight is that our community is a great community, and it is a community that anyone can join at any time, right? So you might be born with it, you might acquire a disability throughout your life, or once when you're a senior, you're likely going to have some mobility challenges or disabilities as well. So, at any point in your life, you can join our community. So it's important that we include as many people in our plans, no matter what. So
I do agree with you with that.
did you know that 1-5 people in Alberta have a disability? I mean, that's like 20%. So in a room of people, 1 in 5 of them will have some sort of disability. So that's almost a quarter of the population. In fact, over a quarter of the population in Canada have a disability. So 1 in 4.
I have disabilities too as well.
Okay, and do you mind me asking what your disability is?
For me, I have Down as well. I have problems with talking a lot, like staring a lot, like right now.
Okay, no, that's it's good to know. My aunt had Down syndrome. Yeah, so I'm a little bit familiar with people who have Down syndrome. I always say people first before the disability because we're all people first, right? So
Right, yeah.
What is age? What is a depth? Can you highlight the differences between?
So ACE stands for Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped, and that's been a program that's been around for many decades. And it's a program there that is offered by the government for people with disabilities that can't work, depending on their disability. As everyone in this room, I think, is familiar with, it can be very hard to find employment. And so that is a program that has been very beneficial to people with disabilities for a long time now. Your second question is around a new program that the government is introducing, and that is ADAP, and that stands for the Alberta Disability Assistance Plan, and that is a new program that is focused more so on helping people find employment, people with disabilities find employment, because the government believes that people with disabilities need to find a job. Now, that becomes a little bit sticky because we know that's hard for people, many people with disabilities, to find work, especially in today's world where there's not a lot of jobs for people that don't have disabilities. The one concern, the biggest concern that people with disabilities are talking about right now is that the government did not properly consult them before they rolled out the program. The second one is that it is reducing the amount of money that people with disabilities will receive. So they'll receive $200 less. So on ACE, it's $1,940 per month. And then on ADAP, it's going to be $1,740. Now, there'll be what's called a transition period from starting July 1, which is, of course, Canada Day as well. Mm-hmm. And that is going to stay in place until New Year's Eve of 2027, I believe. So, yeah. So it'll be just over a year that'll be around, I think it's December 31, 2026 actually, but either way, you have a year to stay on the original benefit of ACE, which is 1940, and then January 1st, they're going to reduce it. So in between that time, people with disabilities are expected to try and find employment. And so that is a big concern right now for Albertans with disabilities, because, you know, the proper supports are not there right now to help people find a good job.
What is the process for individuals who use ACE to transition to ADAP?
So, Austin, the process for people on ACE to transfer to ADAP is happening automatically. So what the government is doing is they're going through and they're reviewing everyone that's on H, and they're saying, okay, this person seems to be able to work, so we're going to automatically put them onto the new program. So in terms of the process, it is actually very easy to be transferred because it happens automatically. The challenge, though, is if you're accidentally put in the wrong program, right? And then you got to go back to ACE, and that process is a little bit more tricky because you have to do an appeal to say, hey, I'm not supposed to be on this program. I need to be on H because I can't find a work and that sort of thing. And a lot of people with that qualify for PDD are being accidentally put into the wrong program. So luckily, the government is starting to call people now and say, oops, we made a mistake. But that's what happens when you're automatically transferred over.
What feedback have you heard from the disability community about a app?
What I'll say is that I'm hearing from hundreds and hundreds. I get hundreds and hundreds of messages per week from people with disabilities saying that they're very scared and worried that they didn't ask for this program to happen because the proper supports weren't in place already to support people with disabilities. That's another project I worked on was Bill 206 that would have been an accessible Alberta legislation, which essentially would make accessibility a law in Alberta. But nonetheless, people with disabilities are very scared. They're very anxious. It's causing a lot of hardship in the community because the government has not done a very good job of sharing information, and more importantly, they haven't done proper consultation with people with disabilities.
What can we do to make our world more accessible?
When we are making things more accessible in the world, that we have people in the room with disabilities helping make those decisions, because it is the people with disabilities that are going to be impacted first and foremost, whether that's positively or negatively. So it's important that we ask, the Zacharys of the world, the Austins of the world, the Morgans of the world, what they need to succeed and thrive in the world when it comes to their access needs. So, short answer, get people with disabilities involved in a meaningful way so that we do things right the first time.
Where can our listeners find you?
Facebook, Instagram, X, and then of course I have my own website, ZacharyWeeks.ca. that they can reach out to me there and learn more about the stuff I'm working on. I have a blog there, and yeah, so they can reach me on my website. They can reach me on social media, and I'm always happy to talk to anyone that needs help or wants advice on accessibility and how to improve the world for people with disabilities.
Awesome.
How can our listeners get involved?
Having discussions around what they want to get involved with is always the first step. I think, if we're talking about issues like the transition from ACE to ADAP, one of the things that I always recommend is reaching out to their MLA, writing a letter to let them know what they think of the transition, and really using social media as well to post videos about the challenges that people are having, to raise awareness, to have meaningful conversations, because we also know that social media can be very toxic and bad with trolls and that sort of thing. So, again, using social media for good, sharing those experiences, and more importantly, how to fix them so that other people don't have to go through the same experiences that we do, is always a great way to get involved and move the needle on accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities.
That's right. If there anything else you'd like to add?
As we discussed, a person can become disabled at any point in their life. So on that note, I think it's very important nowadays to be kind to one another and to love each other for what our abilities are, and be kind to yourself, but also have expectations that you should never give up, depending on what people tell you, if they're mean to you or they bully you or whatever the situation is. Never give up on your dreams, never give up on being kind to each other, and I think really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to be a better person is what we need in the world right now with everything going on. So that's what I would add. And know that you're not alone in what you're experiencing.
Thank you so much for coming on with that, and I totally agree with that.
Well, it's an honor to be here with you guys today. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be interviewed and shining a light on some of the challenges that Albertans with disabilities are facing right now, and your interest in my work and what it looks like. So I thank both you and Austin for having me, and I want to be a guest anytime you'll have me.
For sure. Yes.
Thank you for listening to Accessible Airwaves
On CJSW 9.9 FM.